Hello, Get the Gloss. Hannah Alderson here, registered nutritionist, PCOS expert and founder of the Positive Method, the wellness approach to weight loss. When it comes to reversing the symptoms of PCOS, what we have to remember is that it's a really broad spectrum as a syndrome. Each person is as individual on the outside as they are on the inside, and that's very much the case with PCOS. There'll be different factors, different drivers for each particular case, but we do have some underlying themes which can be really useful when it comes to making first steps at looking at reversing those symptoms. And the great news is that PCOS is highly responsive to simple changes. So if you're feeling a bit lost, if you've been diagnosed or you've been put on the pill and you don't really want to and you don't really know where to begin, this is a really nice place to start. 3 simple changes. Number 1, ace your breakfast. It's really important when it comes to your blood sugar balance that you start the day off well. The reason blood sugar balance is so important when it comes to PCOS is due to something called insulin resistance that is a big driver. It also drives many other metabolic diseases and issues in the body, but in particular with PCOS, it can be a real issue, and up to 70% of cases are driven by insulin resistance. So when we eat a food, when we eat carbohydrates and sugars in particular, they get broken down. So carbohydrates go from carbohydrate to starch to glucose. And when we have glucose in our bloodstream, it's very sticky and we want to get it out of the bloodstream. So we call on the pancreas to produce insulin to take that sugar, the glucose, and take it out of the bloodstream into the cells. If we have too much at one time, we can have something called a spike, and what goes up must come down. And this kind of notion of doing that over and over again by eating carbohydrates without fat and protein present, by having too much sugar, that can lead to something called insulin resistance, because after a while we need more insulin to get the job done. And with insulin resistance, it can interfere with our hormones. It can drive high testosterone, which is a driver for PCOS. It can lower sex hormone binding globulin, which is an issue with testosterone again. So when we start the day, ask yourself, where's the protein, where's the fat? So by having these guys there alongside your carbohydrates, you can flatten the curve so we can keep our blood sugar balance. And how you start the day can really impact how your blood glucose goes throughout the rest of the day. So start off with a lovely smoothie, but be sure to include something like a protein, and that could be collagen powder, a protein powder, nuts, seeds, nut butter, a bit of yogurt, and making sure we have a fat there present. Again, you can use your seeds, your nut butters for things like that. If you're having eggs for breakfast, a brilliant start to the day, something like an omelette. So acing your breakfast by making sure you have fat and protein present is a great place to start. Number 2, include more anti-inflammatory foods into your diet. Inflammation is another big driver for PCOS, and I don't mean inflammation if you stack it on a dance floor, which I've done many times, and you bump your knee, that kind of localized inflammation. It's not that, because inflammation, it's a defense mechanism for the body, and it's really important to protect us against infection and when we knock ourselves. But it's the low grade inflammation that can be driven by diet that we want to avoid. And that chronic inflammation can be a big driver for many diseases and conditions, and PCOS is one of them. So what we want to do is try and include more anti-inflammatory foods. So things like omega-3, so walnuts, flax seeds, oily fish. So a great place to start is look at including oily fish 3 times a week. That's sardines, anchovies, mackerel, salmon. Sustainably sourced, to have 3 times a week is a really nice thing to do. So balancing your blood sugar at the start of the day by acing your breakfast. Number 2, including more anti-inflammatory foods, foods high in omega-3, lots of plant-based fibre, a really good place to help reduce inflammation. Number 3, go to bed at the same time every day where you can. Something called the circadian rhythm. It's our natural flow of when we wake up and then we go to bed in the evening. Every organ in your body has its own circadian rhythm. It's really cool. And we have cortisol in the morning that wakes you up, and melatonin that gets you to sleep. Melatonin is really important. It has a big connection with PCOS. It can help with ovulation because it can protect the follicle against damage, free radical damage, and melatonin is hugely linked with the reproductive system. So we want to try and get a really nice balance with waking up and going to bed with our cortisol and improving our melatonin. So going to bed at the same time every day, wearing an eye mask, it's something we call sleep hygiene. And it's often something I work with clients with. So a simple change of making sure you're going to bed at the same time every day can have big, big impacts. So those are my 3 hacks. I hope that they are useful. It can feel quite overwhelming if you have been given a diagnosis and you want to help reverse those symptoms, but you don't know where to go. Start off small. It's a really great place to start. So ACEAL breakfast, anti-inflammatory foods, and going to bed at the same time every night. And as I said, PCOS is highly responsive to small changes. So give it a go. If you want to learn more, jump over to my Instagram, Hannah Alderson Nutrition. DM me if you have any questions. Other than that, have a beautiful day, and thank you very much, Get the Gloss, for having me. Catch you soon. Bye.